What's going on, everybody? Paul from PB Sports Talk, week 65 on tap, Saturday morning. I am recording this at 8:35. Couldn't go live today at 10. This will drop at 10. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you share it, pass it along, follow, subscribe. Upper right-hand corner, if you like this content and you like other content I've done or some of the things that you'd like to know about in the future, go ahead and scan that QR code in the upper right-hand corner. That is or it will take you right to our YouTube page. Smash the subscribe button right there on X. If you are watching there, great. Thank you. If you'd like to keep in touch with all of our topics and everything that we say throughout the day, the week, first place it goes is X at PB Sports Talks with an S on the end. So appreciate again you guys joining. All right. So full show here. A lot to unpack. We're going to go over it was an interesting day yesterday. I released the behind the scenes unmasking of Jason Whitlock and that shit show experience I had in my life, and detailed a lot of the reasons why and things that I learned from behind the scenes by talking to a lot of professionals in the industry. I took a couple of months. I reflected, had a lot of different people reach out to me. They wanted an explanation. They were wondering where I was at, if I was coming back, which I appreciate that. I really do. And there was after the episode, and you can see it up on YouTube, and that's the only place it is, at PB Sports Talk. Again, scan that QR code, upper right-hand corner. It's there. Talks about basically the entire experience. And I'm going to give a few more nuggets. It was about an hour yesterday. I couldn't get to everything. I'm going to give a few final nuggets here of how unprofessional of a shop it is. And just these final nuggets to get you guys to understand why I was like, what in the hell is going on? Why I would have just bolted myself after just a little bit more time. And again, I'll touch on that TJ Moe thing and something somebody said to me yesterday. This was after the fact. But if you allow somebody like that in your orbit to say things like that and basically alienate and denigrate an entire half of a population, you are toxic. I mean, that is not my opinion. It's definition. It's textbook definition of what toxic is and what people, I mean, you could choose to say it, you could choose to do it, you could choose to be around it, but the overwhelming majority, say roughly 90%, want nothing to do with that in their life. I don't want anything to do with these people. Like, it's bad. I'm telling you guys, it's bad. It's just not good. It's unhealthy. It's somebody said to me this morning, and I don't want to get too far off track here, but somebody said to me this morning, tremendous amount of positive comments. I think it's up over 220 people who have reached out to me individually, shared all of a wide-ranging amount of thoughts on the show, on Jason, and I would say 95% of them said, I was once a loyal listener and a loyal follower, and I had to leave, meaning had to leave from watching his show. And I think he's bleeding people left and right, to be honest with you. I really do. It's a niche topic. It's a divisive topic. It's racial and bias. It's hiding behind masks. It's some sort of permission to say whatever you want and then just throw out the word biblical principle and somehow that gives you a free pass. It just doesn't. And people don't like it and people don't respond to it. When you have a 30, 35-year career and you were an incredible writer and you have 582 or 580,000 subscribers after 5 years in the business, aligned with a name like Blaze, there's something seriously wrong with that. It's probably time for an internal audit as to what is going wrong. There's some good things being done there. I think there's some good people there, but this guy thinks he's something he's not, and it's not going well, in my opinion. That's my opinion. I don't think it's going well. If you take a 30,000-foot view and you look at everything that's going on and you see what I saw and heard and know what I know from behind the scenes, it's just not operated very well. And I'll get to more of those details in a moment. So I'll put that to bed for good once and for all. You won't hear another word from me about it after today. Yesterday's episode or hour-long show will get cut up and clipped and sent out to the world for educational and informative purposes. I will use it for a teaching tool, or excuse me, a teaching tool, an opportunity for people in the future, and past people that have utilized me for mentorship and stuff on exactly what you shouldn't be, on exactly how you shouldn't act, on exactly how you should never treat people, and how when you are in an opportunity to really make a difference in somebody's lives on a national scale, take that opportunity and make it. and make a difference, a profound difference in people's lives positively, and help enact good, positive change in people, not negative. The NFL coaching carousel, two types of NFL coaches, the way that I define them. Eric Spoelstra, that Miami Heat head coach, should be praised. I'll show you a clip. High school basketball, and a flaw that I believe that there is, and it's a systemic flaw, and this has been going on for forever. I don't know. I don't know how far it goes back, but I know it's basically been this way forever. And the way that high school teams and the levels of freshman, JV, and varsity are managed in terms of the basketball landscape. And now when you see things like the portal today, and you'll see when I explain it, I think it'll make some sense. The Cleveland Browns, it's basically been confirmed. It's the worst possible opening right now, NFL coaching opening in sports. They're not getting a lot of looks. And then I'll end it with my PB picks. All right, let's close this up. So again, incredible response. And I wasn't looking for clicks. I'm not looking for followers for it. I don't really care. Honestly, I don't care. This is right now a hobby for me. This is not my living. When Jason found out about me, I was putting about 5 hours a week in. Now I put maybe 10 to 12 hours a week. This is a hobby. It's one that I enjoy. I feel like I have a lot to add. I feel like I have a lot to teach. The response has been pretty significant. You don't get to 1,000 subscribers in YouTube by accident part-time if people don't like what it is you're saying. That's in the top 10th of 1%. It's not a lot by the standards of a YouTube podcast or a YouTube subscriber base. It's peanuts. It's nothing. But the average person has less than 10. Okay. And I've never put a dime, not a penny, not a dime, not a dollar into any of this. I have never paid for promotions and ads, nothing. It's all organic. And if I decide that I want to move forward with it, then I will do it on a much larger scale, and I'll get into the tens of thousands very, very quickly, because everything that I've done in my life in terms of building businesses and taking things from zero, to 100,000, 200,000, 400,000, $500,000, $1 million in sales like that. I can do the same thing with this, as I have no doubts. Unlike what Jason said. Here's what Jason Whitlock said to me. It's just like, you don't talk to people like this. Yeah, at 53 years old, there's probably not much of a chance for you to make anything of this. Again, had an opportunity to mentor me. Instead, he chose to mock me, mimic me, and embarrass me. This is a man on a national stage with an opportunity to impress upon people good stuff. And I had a brief text with somebody on the inside yesterday and said they changed his life. And had they not met him, they would, I'm paraphrasing, things. So thankful that it came into his life, and he's probably done some good things. I don't doubt that. Everybody has good to them. This is not to suggest that he's a bad man through and through, but dude's got some things really twisted and confused as to the way that he treats people. And maybe he thought I was a fool and just this guy with blinded, sheets pulled over my head, in terms of like blinded by the light. I don't mean to, let me rephrase that and make sure sheets over my head. I don't mean to make that sound that way. That's not what was not my intent. Like the wool pulled over my eyes, in terms of I'm just this dumb person that doesn't understand how to be treated. You don't tell somebody that you're not going to be successful at this. You just met me. You don't have the right to talk to me that way, nor do I have the right to talk to you that way. And I gave the ultimate level of respect to this man, folks, behind the scenes, during the scenes, at all times. At all times. You just don't treat people like that. All right. So the person says to me yesterday, disappointed to see that you went this route. Jason could have really helped you. I don't want Jason's help. I don't want anything to do with Jason. I don't like to be associated with people like Jason that associate themselves with characters and basically trouble starters and people who mix Molotov cocktails and throw them out there in life, like TJ Moe did, and insulted every woman on the planet. All right. And that really triggered me, and it still triggers me. I'm sick about it. And I don't know why I feel this way so strongly. Maybe it's because I've employed a lot of females. Maybe it's because I had C-suite level women who worked for me that are incredible professionals. Multiples made 6 figures. multiple of them ran circles around men. Now, that's not the context and what he was saying per se, but there's a lot of that going on in that show, and that don't believe women should work, and it's a man's world, and women shouldn't be in and around sports. It's man dominated. It's all bullshit. Yeah, again, you're entitled to your opinion. Have your opinion, but be careful what you say when you just start alienating out people. And when you have 582,000 subscribers and you're maybe wondering why, that you might want to start there. It doesn't work. Somebody told me this morning, this was one of the very couple, like there's like two, I would say negative comments or challenging comments. He said, stay in your lane. You're pushing the wrong buttons. This is not my lane. I'm not changing lanes. Tons and tons of people reached out to me. I spent 2 months thinking about if I wanted to do this. And the TJ Moe thing, honestly, that's what triggered me. It triggered me to come out about this because I was ashamed of myself that I ever shared a segment with him. Somebody told me yesterday, they said, you were actually harder on TJ Moe than you were on Whitlock. He's probably right, because that's one of the lowest of low things I have ever heard. Don't hire an attractive woman because you're putting yourself in a position. Again, I don't have it in front of me, John. I don't have it in front of me. I'm paraphrasing. Okay. Everybody could look at the clip. I'm not making it up. I'm not misleading anybody. To the extent that he says, men, when you hire an attractive woman, you give opportunity for temptation, essentially for temptation to set in, which is basically to imply, bring unattractive women around you. It's just disgusting. It's disgusting. And this is a man with a wife and children, and I think at least one daughter. And he's an employer of women. You got to be kidding me. So that really triggered me about 6 weeks ago after I exited the show 2 months and a little bit ago. November 19th, it was about 2 months. That really triggered me, and it prompted me to want to come out about this. It prompted me to want to come out and tell my story as well as in conjunction with the people asking about my story. So let me just tell you about this part, and I just really want to move on because this is really important. I've employed hundreds of people at times in my life. I've managed well over 1,000 at different stops for myself and for others in my lifetime. There's one thing that I've learned over the years. It doesn't matter if it's an employee, a contractor, a vendor. The number one responsibility that you have, it isn't to prop your damn self up. It is to take care of those people around you. It doesn't matter in what capacity they are involved. Is it part-time? Is it full-time? Again, is it contractor? Is it temp? Is it term-based? Whatever it is, your number one responsibility is to respect those people, is to help guide, teach, communicate with those people, define expectation, lay out exactly what's expected and the reasons why, and then say or ask, do you have any questions for me? Management 101, which clearly Jason Whitlock and his team have zero idea about or how to do. So my experience with this, and again, I understand it's a fluid situation. I do a little bit of a show. Topics change. There's hot topics. There's trending topics. There's something that might happen at 9 o'clock tonight versus something that happens at 4 o'clock this afternoon. I get it. It changes like that. Okay. It's very, very fluid. I get it. Never did anyone tell me, nor did I ask, because you're just trying not to ruffle that. You're thinking there's mature adults in the room and that maybe they're going to come to you because they're asking you to be on the show. And then there's basically like almost an expectation of it. They'll ask you, are you available? They'll say, in the beginning, the very early days, it was never, hey, are you available this week? It would come in the actual morning. So I'm on Eastern time. Show starts at 11 o'clock Eastern time. I'm getting texts at 8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:20. Can you be on the show today? Yeah, I can. I mean, you're new to this. You want to do this. Like, I'm experimenting with this. I'm testing. I'm trying some different things. You want to be involved. So I kept on saying yes. And I'm like, okay, is this really how this actually works? Because again, no one's saying anything. Here's the expectation. It's going to ebb and flow when we get information to you. A lot of it's going to be a last minute. Jason doesn't decide on topics until, 9, 10 p.m., whatever it is. I don't know that that's the case. Let's just assume for a moment, 9, 10 p.m. the night before, whatever pops up, or maybe your Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, or you know what, you're new to this and we're trying you out. I'm telling you, zero communication, folks. You want to talk about twisting in the wind and dangling in the wind? And I got this dude critiquing me on what he thinks I am or not. Bro, get your own house in order. You live and are in a glass house. Learn how to treat people, learn how to lead people. You're not doing this as a hobby. You have people that work with you and around you at least 40 hours a week. You have scheduled guests that work with. Do you do that to them? Probably not. So my name's not Danny Cannell. My name's not Steve Kim. So let's just discard this guy. Let's let him run around and chase his tail as if I don't have a life. This is not what I do full time. I'm not on your beckoning call. Now, one might think, all right, so if you really want to get noticed and you want to be known on a national show, just do what they say. Well, how do exactly, if this is not the full-time thing that I do, and they all knew this, by the way, how do I make myself available at 11 Eastern time, which that's when the show starts. That's the first block or the intro monologue. That's when it starts. If you are finding out that you're on the show and then you have to prep based on the topics, there's a 2-hour window, and I don't watch all the games. You can't possibly do it. I have a certain niche, and then I follow, and it's like, all right, here's the topic, and then it's 9 a.m, show starting at 11. You have your life, you're scrambling, you say yes, and then you're running around, you're going to get clips, you're doing all this type of stuff to get prepared for the show, to not just have to wing it and have a little bit of information. And so guess what, you guys? Maybe you ought to take a lesson here too. Maybe you ought to realize that some of my hiccups that I made on the show were because I had no prep time. Zero. I had no idea what to expect. I had no guidance, no communication, none whatsoever. I'm out here. I'm wondering. My wife would say, legit question. Hey, you know if you're going to be on a show today? No, I have no idea. Literally, I have no idea. More near the end, in fairness, John would text me on a Sunday night, 9 o'clock, 8 p.m., 9 o'clock, something like that. And he'd say, I think we might circle to you. We might want to circle to you this week. Are you available? Okay. I don't again, every day, 4 days, 3 days, 2 days, 1 day. What does that mean? What are the topics? Can I get some sort of idea? Are we staying in a basketball lane? Are we staying in a football lane? What are we doing over here? So imagine you're starting anything new at any level, part-time, full-time, contractor, term. It doesn't matter what it is. And you have no idea. And this is new for me. And again, I cannot emphasize this is new for me. I'm not an industry veteran. I'm not Steve Kim. I'm not Danny Cannell that have 500,000 followers or something like that, like Danny and on ESPN and things like that. I don't know what to expect. I'm new. So why not guide the person? Why not teach the person? Why not take 10 minutes to say, here's what you can expect. I don't want you to feel like you're out there. Hey, we love what you do. We love what you bring to the table. I listed everything out on the show yesterday. We think you have some great value so that you understand where we're at and all of this. Here's what we're thinking and here's why. And then I either agree with it or I don't, because you don't own me. You're not paying me. You paid me zero. And I didn't get a chance to say this on the show yesterday because this one blew me away too. And this is when I knew I had a bad problem. Like there was all of these things building up and I was just kind of suppressing it, hoping, I guess, that it would figure itself out and that, hey, maybe this is like going someplace and I'm being tested. And if I pass the test, then maybe they start paying me. Maybe I become a formal contributor. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I get some sort of stipend. I don't know how it works again. And I'm not going to ask that question because I don't know where the line is and I'm trying to let some time go. Jason asks me to go research somebody. Yeah, I got this guy in New York. He does research for me, but he's not available. Can you go research this and this and this? And I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'm being honest with you. I was in a car. I was in it was actually a church parking lot of all places. Not because I was there, but because I was on the road and I had to pull over. Man, That should have been a signal right there, right? What are you doing, dude? He's asking me because he's looking to make a certain decision, and I won't divulge what the details are of that. But he says, hey, I have a meeting with this person, whatever, da, da, da. Can you do some research for me on that? What am I going to say? No? Like I am a big research guy. I'm an analytical guy. I'm a detail guy, data guy, extensive background in business, and 30-year entrepreneur, owned very successful businesses. Again, managed and employed a lot of people. Groundbreaking in a lot of areas in terms of the niches that I created were very, very different. Everything that I do, I try to be different in terms of not being status quo, and give clients and give people something totally different than what they could ever dream of, type of thing. So I'm thinking, all right, maybe that's where he's going. He just wants me to go research somebody, report back to me, basically is what he's saying. Give me all that information. My time is the most important thing that I have in my life. It's the most important commodity that anybody has. Especially when you're in a coma in 2016, you don't know how much time you have left. Like, you don't know if it's just something happens in your mind that it changes and you have a newfound respect for time and life. And not that I'm in danger of dying now. I'm not suggesting that. It's just you start to learn that your time is valuable more than ever before. And as you learn and you go through business, every moment that I spend on moments in time that I spend each day has to make sense for me. So here I have this other guy. He's like, be on the show whenever. Okay. Go do this research for me on this guy and report it back to me. And edit that. And I'm like, all right, dude. Yeah, I'll do it. And I report back to him. Yep, thanks. This is the way it operates. And I wonder if this is how it operates everywhere. I'll find out. I will. I'll do the research myself. I'll inquire with some of those big names that I talk to in the industry, and I'll broach this topic. Is this how it works when you bring somebody new on? Do you not tell them anything, and they're just supposed to expect to make themselves available? I'm not Steve Kim. I don't have 4 other things or 5 other things. I've not been a boxing broadcaster. I'm not Danny Kanell on ESPN. I do this for a living. And hey, I'm the Friday guy. I'm the Thursday, Wednesday guy. I'm going to block out, 15, 20, 40, 30-minute segment block, whatever it is. This is what goes back to what I said yesterday about learn how to treat people, respect people. If you feel you have something in somebody, you want to bring them in your orbit, talk to them, treat them like a human being. Don't just leave them dangling and twisting out in the wind. Jason Whitlock walks around and sits there and talks like one of the most arrogant asses on the planet. And folks, this is what he allowed. It's his name. This is what he allowed to go on behind the scenes. I don't want anything to do with that. I promise you I would have exited out. As soon as I found out about TJ Moe, I would have exited out in 2 seconds flat. That was not denounced in any sort of way to my knowledge. That is immediate grounds for termination as any contributor, in my opinion, and by most any standard of anyone that has ever been in business. That is not something you allow around your orbit. You just don't do it. You want to be some controversial guy and go be a controversial guy, I guess. But if you want a respectable show and you're not in it for clickbait, but you're in it for the right reasons, you cannot have people that talk like that around. You just can't. But then again, maybe you can. Maybe it's just me, and maybe I just believe in a little bit different standard, and maybe they don't. So I'm done with this dude. I want nothing to do with any of them. Literally, if he called me tomorrow and he apologized for all of this misleading and misinforming and taking advantage of, because that's really what it is, because you didn't do anything for me. You gave me an opportunity, and beyond that, that's where it ended. If he called me tomorrow and said, I got $250,000 for you. I'd like you to come on full time. I'd like you to do this, this, and this. Hey, I appreciate the offer. It's not for me. Good luck to you. That's truly how I feel. If you can F things up that bad in 4 to 6 weeks with somebody who really looked up to you and who really could have used some of your mentorship, you might want to think about this, Jason. And I hope everybody else does. This isn't my lane. I'm not coming back. I simply paused to inform people that wanted to know what was going on, and now I'm done. So moving on. All right. What we had this week, one of the biggest hires, talked about hires, I think that we've had in quite some time. And, John Harbaugh, big name, the Giants, big name, huge market, the whole 9 yards. The Giants, very, very well owned, I think, franchise in the NFL, the Mara family, but they've gotten things wrong for quite some time. The Bob McAdoo's, and I don't have it in front of me, the Bob McAdoo's and Steve Spagnuolo for a moment, and Brian Dable and Pat Shurmur, and some of these guys, it's just like spinning wheels. John Harbaugh becomes available, and you say to yourself, all right, I want to bring stabilize the program, stabilize the franchise, stabilize the team, get the ship righted. It's off kilter. It's off into the rocks. We need to get this thing back on track. The absolute perfect guy for that. A+++ hire right there. Again, somebody who evaluated talent, recruited for high-level achievers and fits, because the fit matters almost more than anything else. Does the fit matter? Is the fit good for us as a franchise? Does it align and match with our standards? Is it with our philosophy? Will it mesh with our team and where we're at? Perfect. It doesn't get any better than that in terms of those things. I've been on record in saying that I don't think that John Harbaugh did the best of jobs in Baltimore. John Harbaugh, very successful on a lot of different levels, won a Super Bowl, long tenure in the NFL, has influence, has the ability to affect decisions, and I just don't think he made all the right ones in Baltimore, because it appears, we're being told that he's maybe Joe Schoen is going to be out for the Giants, or maybe it's going to be some collaborative thing, but John wants some power and some decision making in the decisions of the team, the roster, I'm sure, all of that. And you wonder why that didn't happen in Baltimore. And if it did, why was the result the way that it was? Why is Lamar Jackson continuing to be the person over in Baltimore as that's just that? Everyone knows how I feel about Lamar Jackson. I don't even think he's in the top 10 NFL quarterbacks. I don't think he's ever been in the top 10 NFL quarterbacks in terms of the way my criteria is laid out. He is not a leader. He is not a winner at the highest level. He's not a playoff quarterback. He's not that guy, hop on my shoulders, I'm going to take you to the promised land. He's just not. He's more of a regular season quarterback, a fantasy football quarterback, flashy with the way he runs and stuff like that. But it kind of ends there. And John I don't think, take it by the horns and say, look, guys, I want to continue being here as a coach, but we need to make some changes. So either he didn't have that power, or he brought it to the table and they rejected him, or he just didn't even go there. And if he didn't go there, that's on him, because you were just toiling in mediocrity year after year after year after year after year after year. I don't define a successful team of any kind. We're talking about pro, but I don't define success on if you get to the playoffs or if you win 10 games, or maybe now 11 games because there's 17 games in the season versus the famous 10-6. If it's 11-5, I don't define that as success. Fans want more than that, particularly in a market like this. They want more than that. They demand more than that, and they deserve more than that, quite frankly. No one can win it all every year. We all know that. But I don't know that he did the best job in Baltimore. But as it relates to, this is a franchise, get things right, stabilize it, make it a good free agent destination, a guy who's got full control, respectability, credibility, great guy, really solid coach, all those types of things. We'll see who he puts around him, because quite frankly, that is as important as him and what he is to the team is what his coordinators are. And here he goes again, talking Todd Monken. He's got some sort of loyalty to this guy, and it just hasn't panned out, in my opinion, from the outside. Look at the numbers. Baltimore is mostly an anemic offense. They don't produce at the highest levels when it's needed the most. Some of that's talent, some of that's opposition, some of that's injuries. There's a lot of reasons for that. But regardless of that, of what all of those conditions are, rise above it here and there. Rise above it, overperform, and deliver more. And I don't know that that was all there. But what an hire. I mean, that's just a really, really great job by them. I put this out. There's a video out there. Again, scan the QR code upper right-hand corner, takes you to our YouTube channel. Smash the subscribe button. You could see the video up there that I did about this. Coaching styles, I'll just touch on this quickly. Again, everything that I do with this platform is through a life, sports, and business lens because they all go together. One does not succeed without the other. Sports is life. Life is sports. Business is now sport more than ever. In fact, I would argue it isn't even sport anymore. It's business first, then sport. And it's really happening not just at the NFL level. Obviously, we're seeing what's happening at the college level, at the AAU level, and I think it's even at the high school level, quite frankly. And I'll talk about just a small tidbit about that in a moment. So I define an NFL. This is an NFL coach, not college, not any other level. NFL coach. There's two styles or two types of NFL coaches that I see it as. One is a CEO type and one is a founder type. And there's a lot of names I could have put on this list, but for the sake of conversation and explaining this, John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, and Mike Vrabel are who I would consider CEO type style coaches. They are organizational guys, structure guys, credibility, plan, philosophy, strategy, all of those things. And they bring stabilization into a program and then try to put people around them. Anybody who's ever worked in any kind of high level of business or owned a business or been a CEO, surrounds themselves with people generally that are much smarter than them in areas that they are weaker in. It's just how it works. You are defined by the organization that you, or the group of people that you put around you. And that's a lot of what I was saying about Whitlock earlier. If you believe you have good people in the room, you better treat them with respect and you better understand what they have to offer and you better communicate to them where their value is, where you see their value is, and how and when you're going to apply it. It's business 101. It's leadership 101. Those three guys, Harbaugh, Tomlin, Vrabel, really good at that. Interesting, Mike Tomlin, there's some thoughts out there that he may never coach again, that he's just done and he wants to do other things. That'd be interesting to see if that happens. But I don't see any one of those three, Harbaugh, Tomlin, Vrabel, as innovators. Like literally, John cut his teeth in special teams. Mike Vrabel was obviously a player, played under Belichick, obviously did some things really good actually in Tennessee. For whatever reason, it didn't work out and he exited out. Now look what he's doing in New England. But you got to look at who he surrounded himself with too. Arguably the best offensive coordinator in the league right now, maybe in history, and Josh McDaniels. So it's really important who you surround yourself with as the CEO type. Now the founder type, which is really, really unique, and it's really interesting because you're starting to see more of the founder types become head coaches as we go from more of the dinosaur age and the older coaches, and he's still there, but Andy Reid, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, some of the older, even Harbaugh's getting up there at 63, but still going. A lot of those older coaches are going away, and the young, innovative minds, the founder types, as I call them, tend to become head coaches. They're getting the opportunities to become head coaches. Forward thinking, they're cut from new cloth, they're cut from modern thinking, not the old thinking, right? Some of the older people get more set in their ways, are a little bit more resistant to change, whereas the McDaniels, the McVay, the Ben Johnsons, and who I now believe is going to be one, Mike McDonald's another one, innovator defensively I don't have on the list. And Mike McDaniels is as well, but I don't view him as a head coach. So I didn't put him on the list. I put Josh McDaniels on the list because he's been a two-time head coach. Didn't work out very well in Denver and for the Raiders, but he's an innovative mind. He can scheme up and he can beat you, and he can do it with all sorts of different levels of talent. To me, that's innovation. That's creativity. Sean McVay, head coach, the founder type as a head coach, and it took him a minute. And Ben Johnson, I think you're seeing some of, hey, I'm over here and I'm the founder type and I'm this innovative, creative mind. And then there's that head coaching CEO style. And I believe he's trying to become, obviously he's a head coach and he's the offensive coordinator and he has to merge both. And I think we're witnessing on a live and a real stage the challenges of doing that. It's difficult to be both. And particularly if you're really armed on one area like he was, as the OC, and now you are the head coach OC, and then all of the leadership, being the face, being in front of the camera, everything you say and do is scrutinized, no longer behind the scenes, and you're in the lab with your beakers and you're creating all this stuff. You're now the face of the franchise. You're speaking at the podium. You're addressing the media. Everything is scrutinized on a 100x level. There's some adjustment to that. But Josh McDaniels, Sean McVay, Ben Johnson, Jesse Minter, Mike McDonald, who's not on that list, these are the innovators. These are the founder types. And several of them are becoming successful head coaches. Liam Cohen's another one that could be on that list. He's a little bit young and developing in terms of a head coach, but you can see it. You can see the development, the quick development. You can see the evolution that took place even in this past season, his first, with a 30, what is the GM there, 34, 32 or 34 years old? I mean, this is a young group, really young group, taking over a franchise that's been, you want to talk about toiling and mediocrity. How many coaches did they hire in the past? I don't know, 12, 14 years. Jaguar fan would know that like that. I don't have it in front of me, but it's a lot. They're bringing stability and stabilizing that program. And so this is really unique as we see this develop. And Mike McDaniel, God, there's so many McDaniels and McDonald's. Again, I keep saying this, it gets kind of confusing. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Mike McDaniel, my former Miami coach, is touring around. He came to my team for an interview for an OC spot. He's moving around in different places. I think he's checking with the Chargers. I want to say the Falcons, moving around. And I actually think that he doesn't believe that he's a head coach right now. And I think he needs to go back to being an OC. That's his lane. That's his path. That's where he's really been successful. Get him in the lab with his beakers, not have to worry about leading the team. And let's see where it goes. People in Detroit are getting a little bit frustrated. Why does he keep going to this building? Why does he keep going to this building? He's doing his due diligence. Credit to him for that. Because at some point, maybe he wants to become a head coach again. And so by him moving around and checking in on all of these buildings and getting his voice in that building and getting familiarized with the decision makers in that building, it's a smart, strategic move. Ultimately, I think he's coming back to the candy shop in Allen Park, Michigan, the Detroit Lions. There's no weaponry on any team anywhere, fully complete, ready to go, just like that, with a leader. And here we go again. Dan Campbell is more of the CEO type, not the founder type. He can run offense, did a heck of a job. Actually, they were trending the entire year to have a better offense without Ben Johnson than with Ben Johnson. And like the last 2 games of the year really skewed that. Broken up, injured, so many people out. That was part of the attrition. The attrition was part of that. But Dan's more of the CEO type, put a really good, solid defensive coordinator there, and then put a really solid offensive coordinator there. And man, with that type of roster and that type of GM, there's no stopping you. So that's about the most stable, in my opinion, the most stable position that Mike McDaniel could go to as an OC. I don't see that in Atlanta because they don't have a head coach, right? I mean, they're thinking Stefanski. Is he going to go be the OC for that? Is he going to go be the OC for Harbaugh? Maybe. Does he want to stay in a warm weather market, like Miami and go to LA? Maybe. Maybe he doesn't want to come to Detroit even though they're a dome team. I don't know. But what I know is that candy shop, I still think the flavors of all those candy in the store is going to bring him back. But that's really interesting to see the CEO type and the founder type. You see many, many more, in my opinion, of the founder type that are becoming head coaches because of the innovation. With that comes some failure too. It's like these guys they come in for 2-3 years, maybe they stretch it out to 4, and it doesn't always work. It's a really unique blend, really, really hard deal to be a head coach in the NFL. It's hard. They are like basically an owner within an ownership group. Like you're the face of it all. You're the face of the team. You're the face of the philosophy. You're the face of the city. You're the face of the fan base. You're the face of the NFL badge. There's so much that goes with it. And John Harbaugh is the perfect fit, particularly in that market. He's so well seasoned. He's so well spoken. He's so evenly on keel or even keel with his emotion. And in a volatile place like New York that is really demanding change, that even if you are doing well, they always want more. He's the perfect guy for that. So we'll see. And the roster, again, I think that, Orlovsky said he thought Atlanta was the best spot, the best fit. I think you can make a solid argument with both. They're up there. I mean, I believe in Michael Penix. I think he's going to do some great things. You've got Drake London, you've got Kyle Pitts, you've got Bijan Robinson. You've got a couple of 2-3 guys on defense that are what I would say would project to be really stars, strong players that project to be stars. Arthur Blank is a solid owner. So that is a good situation. But with Dart and Neighbors and Scatabo, and defensively Brian Burns, and there's some pieces. Abdul Carter needs some of that mentorship. He gets that. Dexter Lawrence can maybe turn some things around, and I think they really have something there. So it will be very, very interesting to see. All right, so I touched on this a little bit ago, and I'm going to get in. The playoffs and the picks will come at the very end, by the way, for any of you who are watching that. I'm going to get to Eric Spoelstra's comments here in a moment, what he said about Kel'el Ware for the Miami Heat, some of the behavior traits, some of the subconscious attempts maybe to, I don't know, navigate his way into more favor. But this is really, really important. Excuse me. The center picture there is 2015, a camp that I held independently. It was my own camp, sponsored by no one, created by me and a couple of helpers around me that helped me build this. It was 109 people at the camp, the most successful camp that I ever operated. Those grades there of young people, boys and girls, grades was supposed to be grades 4, but I allowed a couple of 3s. So grades 4 to 12. And then that is me on the right-hand side coaching high school basketball. And 8 years as a coach. I was a player at one time, never on a high level, but I was a player at one time. Loved the game, right? Past tense to a degree. I don't love it as much as I used to. Obviously, I got out of coaching. If you follow me, you know that. There's a lot of reasons why. I believe that the game is broken in terms of for a lot of reasons. But one of the places that I believe it's broken is what's being done at the youth levels, how it's being coached, how it's being managed, what's being allowed to infiltrate our young people's minds. And that's why I get so very upset about what you see out in social media, what you see by certain podcasters, what you see by what people say. You got to realize that you're an example, especially if you have a platform. You're an example. You have an opportunity to set a good one, or you have an opportunity to set a bad one. While I may get a little bit controversial at times, and I may hit certain coaches or players at certain times, my ultimate goal by doing this is to give good content, to give interesting perspective, to give you an opportunity to consider something that maybe you didn't before, give you some insight and perspective based on a lot of experience, wide-ranging experience as a player, as a coach, as a former business owner, as an employer, as top-level sales everywhere I've been. When I wasn't an owner, all of these types of things factor in, and then put it through a lens all together and wrap that in. This is where it's all starting, folks, at the youth level. It is not, the problems are not at the AAU level per se, or at the college level, or at the NFL or pro level. It's only that those are the most visible, but it's systemic. It's like that dandelion that won't stop growing in your grass. And you have to kill it. And the way to kill it is pull the root out. And so sports are being infected and affected for the wrong reason at the youngest of ages. Seriously. I'm going to give you, this hit me this morning like a ton of bricks. And that's, when you're creating content, sometimes things come out of left field. You got all this malaise of thoughts in your mind. And, you got to take your phone and you got to hit the notes section. Especially me, I'm like a real high level thinker that way, like a real creative mind. Stuff just all day. I got to get that phone. I got to get the notes, or I got to get a pad of paper. I got to start writing things down, or get on a computer and just bullet out like 5-6 things so that I don't forget. I'm going to come back. I'm going to visit these topics. I'm going to develop it. I'm going to build it. Or maybe I'm not going to build it. It sounded good 2 hours ago when it was in my head, but nah, I'm not going to go that route. And that's part of the process of developing content. And that's another thing, folks. If you don't know that about me, and if you want to know that more about me and you want to follow my content, I'm a big what's the why? Why do we do what we do? Why do we say what we do? Why everything? It's if you can understand the why, then life becomes easier. If you understand the why, then you have the ability, what I call the ability to anticipate, is how you learn in some ways how to play chess and not checkers. When people always wonder why two people do the same identical thing, they're equally talented, and one result is very high and one result is much, much lower, they understand the why to it all. And they built it all out based on that. So this hit me earlier this morning, and the portal and everything that's going on, it broke a record, and it's got all these transfers. I think it's 36. Don't quote me. I don't have it in front of me. I think it's like 3,600 portal transfers. Like, what? That's insanity. But I thought about a situation where I was coaching high school ball, and I was coaching the freshman level, and I had a conversation with the varsity coach who's in charge of the program. And I had 3 players on my team that he wanted to pull up from my roster to his roster. They're basically not going to play on his roster. They're going to sit on the bench. They're going to be in his practice instead of my practice. And it's basically these guys project to be players for sure the next year. They're going to for sure skip the JV level. So freshman is freshman only. As a freshman, you can play JV or you can play varsity. But the freshman people may go to JV the next year, or they may go to varsity next year. Generally speaking, when the varsity coach wants to pull 3 people or 2 people from a freshman team, they have designs on, hey, they're going from freshman to varsity next year. They're not on JV. Just not happening. So I'm not a fan of this. This is like that picture on the right-hand side there with me with the tie on, when coaches used to wear suits. That's me in high school wearing a suit. That's 2015. The camp is in June of 2015. That's probably November of 15. Yeah, that's October, November of 15, because it's 2016, the beginning of the year, where I nearly died. And you can see I'm a lot thinner in that picture. If you look at the camp picture where I'm on the steps, that's me all the way to the left sitting on the steps. I mean, I'm like 170 pounds there. I used to walk around at like 235, 240, and I dwindled down to nothing. But anyways, maybe 10 pounds heavier in the other picture, less than that. I was still very ill. But, I say to the guy, why do you want to pull him up? Why do you want to do this? We're in the middle of something. We're building something. And he said, that's just the way that it goes, which I don't subscribe to that type of thinking. I buck the system in that type of way. So because somebody did it like for, I don't know, decades before, that's just all of a sudden, and this is automatic. That's the way we're going to do it. Do we ever challenge our thinking? Do we ever challenge our thinking and say, is this really the best? The best thing for the athlete, for the student athlete, for the team, for the life lesson? Are we going to start something and not finish it? So they started with us. They started with the team. You build the chemistry. You build the camaraderie. Everybody's collaborating together. You're growing. You're evolving as a team. And then suddenly somebody wants to disrupt that, and they want to pull from your team, put them on that team. They're not going to play, but they're going to practice. They might get a few scrap minutes, garbage time minutes at the end. But you're getting a head start on them learning. Freshman team is supposed to run what the varsity team runs in terms of concepts, offensively and defensive, schematically. You're running what the varsity team wants. But this is an opportunity to have those players in the gym with you during your practice time, during your game preparation, during game time. Obviously, they're on the bench. They're relatively in close proximity to the assistants, etc. I don't agree with it. If you wanted them on varsity at the beginning, take them on varsity at the beginning. If you wanted them on JV at the beginning, take them on JV at the beginning. Don't break up the season. So where am I going with this? What are we teaching? We're teaching people not to finish, what they started. And people get all upset on day-to-day life. Why don't you finish what you started? Why do you do this and then you do that? We're teaching them at the youngest of levels that it's okay, that we're going to take you from here and you're going to go here. That's what you would call the high school portal long before the word portal ever got popular. You're going to go from this team to this team within the same school, this level to this level within the same school, and we're going to portal you. Basically, it's not called that. It's not, I don't even think thought of in that way, but it sure kind of seems like that's what it is now that we've seen the portal, right? Now you can go to a team, you can go there, you could get paid, you can decide that you don't want to be there anymore, you want to go someplace else the next year, you can go. It affects your money. I don't even know how it affects all the money. I think a lot of that gets voided, but you don't want to be on that team anymore, you just go to another team. And you didn't start, or you didn't finish what you started. Carson Beck, I don't know, was that the right move? Was that the right move going from Georgia to Miami? I don't really like that. I get to the pro level from where you were. Or if you're going to allow transfers, maybe go to something close to what it once was. You cannot play, I don't believe. You can because they allow it, but I don't think it should be allowed to play for 3 or 4 colleges in some 5 or whatever year, 6-year career now, some of this stuff. It's insanity. So what did we teach them at the young age? We taught them, hey, maybe I should consider this. Well, when I was in high school, I got to go from the freshman team to the varsity team. This is where it all takes place. This is where the seed is planted. And then there's water and cultivation that goes on to that seed over time. And then when you get to that level, if you get to that level, it's like, that's what the expectation is. I got to move down there. Why can't you're going to tell me I got to stay here? You can't tell me what to do. I'm not staying here. So that's a big problem. I can't stand status quo. Sometimes it has to be, I get it. But if we're not challenging our thinking as leaders and whatever it is, business, sports, coaching, if we're not challenging our own thinking and we're not challenging the norm, right? Daily, how do we get better? Are we better than we were yesterday? Are we putting ourselves in a position where tomorrow we're going to be better than today? And the same thing was with the end of the season thing. This I challenged this too. And I'm not this guy that goes around and challenges everything. It's a question. You're part of the group. You're part of the team. You're encouraged to bring suggestions to the table. I brought suggestions to the table. They ran a bowling banquet every single year. So what did I do? I said, okay, yeah, we're going to do the bowling banquet. That's not my decision. I don't finalize that. But I asked the team. Yeah, I'm just curious, guys. If you had an option between this, which one would you like most? They unanimously picked something different than the bowling banquet. So who are we listening? Are we taking into consideration what might work better? What might be more fulfilling? What might be more rewarding? It's at the end of the year, it's kind of like that send-off. Some may never play again because they're graduating. Some may never play the game again because they just won't for whatever reason in life. Some won't be good enough to play that next level. So are we exiting out in the proper way? Did we think about it? Does maybe Dave and Buster's work better? Does Topgolf maybe work better? It is not to say that there's a perfect answer, but if we're just going to stay like this and we're going to stay in this narrow-minded focus, small picture, because so-and-so did it and so-and-so did it and so-and-so did it, that's how we're going to do it. Goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier about the CEO type of coach and the founder type of coach. Are you innovative? Are you creative? Are you a change maker? Are you a difference maker? Or are you the status quo and you want to be like Don Shula, as an example, or Chuck Knox, or Chuck Knoll, or Tom Landry, the old school, or the newer school? You want to be, Belichick was an innovator, so that's a bad example. But some of these guys that are fixtures as a head coach, like a Pete Carroll, but they're so stubborn in their beliefs that they hold themselves and they hold the team, franchise, back. So and I can go on for days. I have material up on the YouTube channel. There's going to be a lot more coming on about, at least this is the plan. Well, you got to get it to execution. But the plan is more educational material for those decision makers, athletic directors, coaches, players, how it all evolves. There's some stuff up there on YouTube. Scan the QR code upper right-hand corner. You can find that, where I give 10 life laws that I have, different messages for parents, how to not live vicariously through your child's eyes. If they don't really want to play a sport, or if somebody else's friends and peers are playing that sport, They should never feel pressure to play that sport because of what the peers are, or they won't be accepted into the group, so to say. So there's a lot of stuff up there. There's a lot of stuff that goes kind of like along this line of thinking, but there's without question something very, very, very broke. And it all starts at that youth level. All right, even at the highest level, right? There's some things broke. I don't honestly, and somebody on that show that I was on thought that I follow the NBA every day because I was a long-time successful basketball coach. It's not true. I just don't have the time to follow it all. Football around the clock, right? I go ahead and screw up about football. I'll screw up about hold me accountable, but I don't even watch basketball. I don't even know all of the rosters, or I watch it very little, I should say. I'm bringing this clip up because it's Eric Spoelstra, who I have a lot of respect for as a head coach. He was basically laughed at when he came on when Pat Riley moved on and tabbed. Spoelstra just took a ton of heat, and this dude is so underrated, folks. So underrated. And he made this comment, I believe it was last night. Don't quote me on that exactly. I think it was last night, about Khalil Ware for the Miami Heat and his thoughts on how he was playing, how he was not stacking good habits, and how he was turning the other way in habits. And I really want to play this clip because this is a professional coach utilizing his media presser, okay, and as an opportunity to send a message to his player, which is risky. It's very calculated what he's about to say. And he's doing it intentionally. There's intent here. He's very, very intentional with this. And he's such so as to say, your gig is up. You're ultra talented, but it's not living up to or meeting the expectation of what I expect of you and what everybody in the building expects of you. So knock it off. And don't use that mentality subconsciously to not play the game at a high level because you think that that's going to affect me. You got to listen to this. I'll make sure to turn the volume up here. This is really, really, I think, cool stuff, and I'll enlarge it for you. Take a listen. All right, maybe I got to enlarge it. There we go.
Game. They were just, it was like one matchup after another, and it was just, it was a tough matchup for him in Boston, with all the coverages, and the same thing tonight. He just has to stay ready. Like with Khalil, I know that's a lightning rod topic. He needs to get back to where he was 8 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, where I felt and everybody in the building felt that he was stacking days, good days. He's stacking days, in the wrong direction now. He's just got to get back to that stack days, build those habits, make sure you're ready and play the minutes that you're playing to a point where it makes me want to play you more, I get it with some young players. You sometimes subconsciously play poorly to say, hey, I'll play poorly if until you play me the minutes, I think I'll deserve, then I'll play well. That's not how it works.
That's refreshing. I love that. I love everything about that. Most ideally, you don't want to use the media to get your message across or that platform and have it get back to him that way. Very clearly, they've talked to him inside the building. It's not working. So he used this, and it's an interesting tactic. We'll see if it works or not. But if there's anybody to have faith in as a head coach at the NBA level, again, talking from a coach's perspective, this dude's legit. I mean, he is so far advanced. It's incredible. And he's playing a game of chess right here. And he's trying to move the pieces. He's not playing checkers, man. He's not like King Me. He's playing chess. And he's thinking 5 moves ahead right here. And he's thinking, how can I motivate this person? How can I get their attention? How can I get this to stop and get it to change? And not only get it to change, but to get it to sustain and maintain going forward and then grow and evolve from that position. Coaching 101. It's not easy to do, but that's our job as coaches and even as leaders in businesses. Like, you got to get people to the next level, and there's a number of ways to do it. Some are a little bit more cunning and strategic than others. Some people are easier to work with, and it's, you don't need to do this format. But clearly he believes that Khalil Ware needs this type of I guess, motivation or this type of exposure to get it happen. So I love that. Really, really well done by Spo, as they call him. And that's a cool thing. All right, let's wrap here. The final 8 starts today. 2 games today, 2 games tomorrow. And Sam Darnold, gosh, I wish he was at full speed. It's just like the attrition, the injuries in sports is just incredible. It just keeps on happening over and over. On the other side, in the AFC, Nico Collins was ruled out a week ago. I hate to be, when my things age like this. A week ago, I'm watching a game. I see the concussion, and I see the results of the concussion, and I'm like multiple times certified in concussion protocols and awareness as a coach, and you know what to look for. And even from a distance, I got on X and I said, well, that's likely going to be for the end of the game, or to the end, for he's out for the rest of the game. And that's probably a no-go next week. And then the word came down, I think yesterday, that he was going to miss the game. That's the type of concussion that can go on for quite some time. Very, very dangerous. It's a fascinating thing with the brain, and it's just so scary what these guys go through. And then you see these NBA players. I'm tired. I know it's an 82 game schedule versus what, 18 games schedule, 19 with the preseason, whatever it is. It's like, I get it. It's less of a season, but when you figure out the physicality of it, it's like you're playing an 80 game season, because the body takes such I can't play a back-to-back night. These guys, they get a sprained ankle. And I'm getting off topic here. Basketball, you get a sprained ankle, it's bad news, right? Because the torque on your ankle and your knees, on your legs from your hips down is extraordinary. You're going at fast rates of speed. You're stopping on basically a hard floor. Yes, you've got certain type of tennis shoes on, but the stop and the start and the cutting that goes on. So like a sprained ankle, it's not straight line running like a running back. I'm going to go straight downhill. Receivers a little bit different because you're running precise routes, you're cutting, you're stopping, but like a downhill runner, like Derrick Henry as an example, it's one cut and go, maybe type of a type of run. He's not putting a lot of torque on the ankle, so somebody like him can get away with it much more than, say, I think Cooper Flagg just went down with an ankle injury. Other guys, same kind of thing, but they bring them along, bring them back so slowly. They're out for 4 weeks, let's say. They're out for 3 weeks. You have the conditioning element to it. You got to get them back up to speed conditioning wise, but they're so protective of these guys. It's just amazing. Whereas in football, it's like, man, it's win or go home. It's win or done. Darnold's going to suit up. It's not a brain type of issue like Nico Collins. I mean, that's Nico's life. That's Nico's rest of his life. You don't in any way, excuse me. You don't in any way mess with that man's life and how it could affect the rest of his life. So San Francisco and Seattle, knew that was coming. Sorry, guys. San Francisco and Seattle. San Francisco's loaded with injuries. The Sam Darnold injury. I love what Seattle's doing. I love Mike McDonald, but I also love Kyle Shanahan. I was a big fan of John Lynch originally. Then he made that really bad error, but we all make errors when he took Trey Lance. It's an interesting matchup. Really one that's fun to watch. Seattle's favored, but you know what? San Francisco keeps finding a way. And they might just find a way to pull this upset. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say San Francisco with the points for sure, but they might outright win this game. And I don't have the lines in front of me. Actually, let me pull the current lineup just so I can speak in real terms as of right now. Yeah. San Francisco +7. Seriously? Yeah. You're taking San Francisco +7 all day, and they are Seattle's 3.5 to 1 favorite. San Francisco +260 on the money line. You might want to sprinkle on that, but I would take San Francisco +7 all day. All right, Rams and Bears. You can scan that QR code. I got my thoughts already out on that game. I've already divulged what's going to happen, in my opinion. Scan that QR code. Go to YouTube, subscribe, check it out. It's about a 3-minute video on exactly where the Bears are at. And what I feel like I'm witnessing and nobody else is seeing, I think it all gets exposed today or this weekend. I think you're going to see Sean McVay out-coach Ben Johnson. I think you're going to see Sean McVay not make the mistakes. I talk about this in the video, not make the mistakes that Matt LaFleur makes. When Sean McVay is playing you, he is looking to crush you. He's looking, if he's got 20 up, how do I get to 35? If I need to get to 42, 49, whatever it is, I need to just blast you. If I'm up 7-0, 10-0, man, I should be up 24-0. It's a mentality. And I think McVay's telling all these nice things he's saying about Ben Johnson. He's putting him right where he wants. And I didn't like Sean McVay when he first became coach. I just thought he was really arrogant, a lot like Ben Johnson's doing right now. And I grew to appreciate and really like Sean McVay on even the second half of this, like post Super Bowl, when he was considering stepping down and retiring. If I look at him post Super Bowl versus pre Super Bowl, I like him a lot better now. And I think it's going to be a school session. I put this in the video that they're both left-handed, man. When you see a left-handed person, you got to already understand that person's on a different level most of the time. Both of these guys, both head coaches left-handed like that, and they're both calling their teams plays. Very interesting dynamic to watch. But I think you're going to see McVay at his very, very, very best. I believe they are a much more well-rounded team. They're more experienced. Stafford is a massive difference maker. Hopefully his thumb or his fingers okay after smashing the helmet last week. We'll see. But the Rams outright in that game. Buffalo and Denver. I've been a big-time Josh Allen fan for a very long time, but it's really getting hard to watch for me. And the way that franchise has been operated, they don't give the guy any weapons, and he's got, Brandon Cooks, and he's got, second and third tier level guys at the wide receiver position. Of course, he's got Cook in the backfield, which is strong, decent tight ends and Kincaid and Knox. But Denver's the real deal, and I don't see Buffalo getting through this. Let's see the line there. Buffalo +1. That's a short line. Buffalo +1 at the Broncos. Come on, man. Home field is usually worth 3, and you're talking Sean Payton. You're talking Bo Nix. That's, to me, I'm just gonna say it. That's people, Vegas, and people in general not saying, okay, Josh Allen's gonna win it because he's Josh Allen. Bo Nix is still young, and Bo Nix is gonna make a mistake. I don't think Bo Nix is gonna make a mistake. Not one that's gonna cost his team the game. Denver's for real. Bo Nix is for real. The Nix and Peyton family or connection is real. Chemistry is real. I said it 2 days before the NFL draft in 2024, and then the day after. I was huge on Bo Nix, and then when Nix went with Peyton, it's like he will be better than Drew Brees. I went way out on the limb on that one. We'll see if it comes true. It's got to go a long time to do that. But if you ask Peyton, if you ask Sean Payton in a room privately with no cameras, no phones, you got to leave it outside the door because this is a skiff. It's a skiff room. It's padded. No one can ever hear my answer to this question. Who projects better, Bo Nix or Drew Brees? In your mind, Sean Payton, what's your answer? My opinion, I think he says Bo Nix. Bo Nix projects as a better quarterback long-term than Drew Brees. Stronger arm, equal in terms of leadership, diagnosing defense, changing protections, all of that type of stuff is same kind of level. Stronger arm, far more mobile, far more dramatic in terms of he can make plays outside of the pocket. So not even just his speed or, downfield mobility, his ability to get outside of the pocket and to make plays on the run without running, just outside the pocket and throwing from different angles outside of the pocket. Brees could do that a little bit, nothing like Bo Nix. How that's a 1-point line, I don't know. Maybe Vegas knows something I don't, but Denver is straight up in that game a winner. New England and Houston, I love what DeMeco Ryans is doing over in Houston. I love Will Anderson. I said it the other day on X. Will Anderson equals leader. Myles Garrett equals follower. Will Anderson, by all accounts, from what we can see, we never know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, but Will Anderson's appears to be a world-class person, a world-class leader, and a world-class player. Like he's playing at a Hall of Fame, a projected Hall of Fame, and I don't like to throw that around too easily, but a Hall of Fame, projected Hall of Fame type of level right now. So I love what Houston's doing, but offensively, they're still challenged. Now you remove Nico Collins out of the mix. While New England's weakest part of their game is defensively, and the strongest part is offensively, and certainly the dual-headed running back tandem. So you just took away your best offensive weapon, and he's gone. So that's probably going to affect you deeper. You were already struggling with him. Now he's gone completely. And I guess sometimes somebody can step up and they can, grab hold of that moment. And, it's like, did we really miss him? Sometimes that happens for a week flash or 2 weeks flash. Lightning strikes in a bottle. I know Houston's probably hoping and banking on that happening, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think the Patriots are the better all-around team as we sit here today. The defense is, that's a ferocious defense in Houston. I won't go as far as saying one of the all-time greats or anything like that, but they are certainly ascending into next level. Let's see if they can stack this, year after year. They started it last year, pretty strong. This year, super strong. They'll give Drake May and that offense fits. But here we go again with Josh McDaniels and the founder type of coach, no longer a head coach, but the founder type that will scheme up something to. It's not going to go easy, and it's not going to be like some kind of. I don't think it's going to be necessarily a. Maybe it could. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a blowout against that type of defense, but if your offense can't move the ball and keep your defense off the field, it can obviously make your defense be more vulnerable than it would ordinarily. And so when you have an offense and you have a mind and a quarterback like May and running backs like that, and Vrabel's, an aggressive guy by nature, you take that opportunity that their defense is on the field constantly and you're pounding on them, and you could take some shots, and I guess it could get out of hand. But likely, if all things are kind of equal and you're, Houston's able to get some first downs. Maybe they're not converting it on it into points, 3 or 7, but they're holding the ball. They're giving the defense some rest. They're matriculating down the field. The game should stay relatively within reach. But either scenario, whether it is that way or whether vulnerability really exists, as I think it does with the offense of Houston, and then the ball ends up being in New England's hands more and more and more. Obviously, there's more opportunity, more possessions, more scoring opportunity. You get ahead of this team. They can't chase you. And that's really the key to the whole game. And you know what McDaniel's thinking. And this is what Matt LaFleur did to go back to Green Bay and the Bears. Matt LaFleur got up to a 21-6 lead, 21-3 lead, then 21-6, but 21-3 lead. And you're like letting off the gas against a team who thrives in a chaotic situation and coming back. You get up 21-3 on Houston. They're not built to come back. They don't thrive in offensive chaos. They don't even have the weapons. They don't have Loveland, and they don't have Swift, and they don't have Caleb Williams the way that he plays chaotically like that. That's where he's at his very, very best. Matt LaFleur allowed them to play right into their hands. So, if New England gets up 21-3 on that basis, you don't go conservative, but Houston doesn't have a lot of ability unless their defense, changes the field with, sudden change turnovers or something like that. They won't be able to catch. They won't be able to catch up, but they'll keep pressing because that's the way Vrabel is and that's the way McDaniels is. If we're up 21-3, why aren't we up 35-3? It's always a constant challenge of your thinking. Play the game for 60 minutes, whistle to whistle, bury the team in front of you. It's really simple concept that Matt LaFleur seems not to be able to get. You get up 21-3. How do I get to 28-3, 35? Then it's 35-10. How do I get it to 42-10, etc.? It's a mentality. It's a philosophy. It's a way to get buy-in from your teams. Some of the greatest coaches in history have done that. Bill Belichick was that way, and he was a defensive mind. But he understood, man, I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to stop. Kurt Signetti's a master of that in college. That's up on one of my videos. You play whistle to whistle. So you put a 50 spot up. It's bring in the score. And, oh, my God, you're going to bolt some more bulletin board material for next year. Screw that. Get up. Stay up. Keep extending out the lead, right? You know, race car drivers going around. I mean, extend your lead, man. Lap the field. So New England wins that game. So to recap, I'm taking Frisco on a flyer over Seattle. I don't know if the Darnold injury will factor into that or not, but San Francisco's dangerous. You want to take Let's see here. 1 second. I mean, you're thinking a West Coast team, warm weather market, and you're going to Seattle, and you know, I don't know what the weather forecast. Actually, I saw the weather yesterday of all four for all four games. I don't think weather's going to be a factor at all, but it's a warm weather team going to a more colder, rainy, dreary type thing. I just think that they're too mentally tough, and Purdy's too solid, and the defense for Seattle, while you know good, they're not like beat you down good. So I'm gonna say Frisco pulls the upset. The Rams over the Bears, and the Ben Johnson show ends. The Broncos over the Bills, and the Patriots over the Texans. So, guys, that's a wrap on week 65 as I'm losing my voice here. Appreciate you joining us. I look forward to seeing more of you in the future and talking to you guys again real soon. Again, scan that QR code upper right-hand corner. That will take you to our YouTube channel. Smash the subscribe button. It's been going up nicely. Again, I don't put a penny into this. We're getting really close to that 1,000 subscriber list, which is really like kind of a milestone. It's not where I want to stop, but it's where I want to get to now. I think it was about 945 subscribers before I went on the show. It's been clicking up quite a bit, over 120 in the last week. You know, for not putting any money into something that's not bad. It's not what I want, but we're getting there. We'll keep testing things out. We'll keep trying things out. Appreciate your help. Appreciate your following. You want real takes. You want authenticity. This is the place to be. So everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. We'll see how it all plays out. Again, thanks for joining us. I say it every week. I'll say it again. Hug someone, hold someone, love someone. Life is short. Take care, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.